backbone of America, and you really are the backbone of America's air power. And in recent weeks, you've been working to deter Venezuelan drug traffickers, of which there are many. Of course, there aren't too many coming in by sea anymore, if you probably noticed that, from sending their poisons into the United States, where they kill hundreds of thousands of people a year. But we're going to take care of that situation. We're already doing a lot. We've almost stopped. It's about 85% stopped by sea. You probably noticed that. People aren't wanting to be delivering by sea. And we'll be starting to stop them by land also. The land is easier, but that's going to start very soon. We warned them.
Okay, what's good, everyone? It's Nigel here, Trinidad Empowerment Network. So, before I start, I want to say this. When this government won the election in April of this year, which feels like a lifetime, when they won the election in April of this year, I knew it would be bad. I didn't think it would be a nightmare. I did not think it would be a nightmare. So let's talk about what we're seeing unfold in Tobago. And what we're seeing is not minor, by the way. It cannot be ignored, because what began as a vague assurances from the Prime Minister has now become a story of shifting truth, a story of serious questions from the people of this twin island. We have every right to demand answers, 10. You have every right to demand answers. When you elected a government, whoever that government may be, whether it be UNC or PNM, they work on behalf of you. Never forget that. They work on behalf of you. So over the past 48 hours, the public narrative around foreign military activity in Tobago has changed. It's changed multiple times, coming from the people that you elected in Trinidad and Tobago. Now, one moment we were told there were no US troops on our soil. The next, that some help with a little roadway at an airport. And finally, we see the presence of US Marines, a foreign military transport aircraft. And then we heard claims of radar and intelligence assistance for maritime surveillance. Now, 10, this is not semantics. That is a completely different mission. A foreign military presence of Marines plus what appears to be a radar intel operation deserves national scrutiny. And for anyone to tell you otherwise is because they are themselves in a cult or are being dishonest. And I think you know who we are referring to now. There's a certain section of the Trinidad public who will not say anything negative, irregardless of what the leaders do in Trinidad and Tobago right now. Now, in parallel, we've witnessed months of escalation in US military activities across the Caribbean. You know this. You've seen the alleged drug boats attacked, the naval deployments. You've seen, like I said, the air and sea strikes under what the US calls their war on narco traffickers. I even hate saying that term because it's such a made-up nonsense term. Now, this aggressive posture is unfolding now under the banner of regional security. But the ripple effects, 10, for small nations like ours, Trinidad and Tobago, could be grave. Could be grave for us. No pun intended. This is no joking matter. Because whilst we're being told to accept shifting explanations and, nonsense about roadworks or refueling stops, there's another side to consider here. One which our leaders appear to want to downplay. So, you would have seen my last video. Hopefully you saw my last video, for those who have. In the last few days, as part of a push to control the narrative, the you saw the Minister of Homeland Security reportedly attempted to enlist, enlist the US Embassy. The Minister of Homeland Security attempted to enlist the US Embassy to revoke the visas of Trinidad and Tobago citizens who speak against or criticize these operations. What you saw from the US Embassy was pushback. They publicly rejected that proposal and rejected the very premise. Now, that should come as no real surprise to anyone who knows anything really, or who is mildly educated. This was never going to happen, regardless of who's in charge of America. And I know we have a rogue actor in charge of America right now. Now, the US government makes all decisions about its visas without foreign government playing a part in any roles in visa approvals. That is as obvious as, or should be as clear to anyone as daylight. Now, the US does not revoke visas because someone exercises their right to free expression, because that's a core value of their country and ours. It's always been that way. Now, what I believe this man attempted to do is act as the bully. He couldn't get his way. He wants to control the narrative, and he's doing as he's told. It's the epitome of illiteracy, in my opinion. So the embassy statement draws a hard line in that they said visa policies is not to be used as a tool of political or a tool of suppression. Now, that should ring alarm bells for every citizen concerned about civil liberties and national sovereignty. The idea that a politician in Trinidad and Tobago is actively trying to bring harm to the lives of the Trinidad and Tobago citizens is unheard of. And I can't break this down in any other way. So let me explain plainly. And I ask this on behalf of every citizen watching today, if you allow me. These are the questions you should be asking, really. What exactly, going back to Tobago, what exactly brought that US military plane to Tobago, and under whose authority is it operating? Because someone authorized this, and if they authorized it, then no one appears to know who did or why it was authorized in the first place. Question number 2 is, what is the nature of the radar and intelligence cooperation? And what are we giving away? And what are we getting in return for this? Now, you know as well as I do, transparency is not a thing in government in Trinidad and Tobago, it appears. And again, I feel like you are being lied to. So who signed off on this operation is question number 3. And why was the island's chief secretary left in the dark? Because according to Tobago, they had no idea. No one told them anything about this. Well, someone must have known.
It's here. So as soon as I get an update from her, then I'll be able to say definitively what and why they were here.
And on his refueling claim, the chief secretary backtracked.
No, I didn't say they were here for refueling. I said I learned of them being here just like everyone else, either through the media and WhatsApp messages and on social media, general. And I learned while trying to do some investigation that they refueled while they were here.
But even as he defers to the Prime Minister, he was clear on what he does not support.
I do not support any kind of installation in Tobago that draws us in to whatever is happening between the US and and Venezuela.
Someone must have known. And of course, how dare any minister attempt to link visa privileges to political speech or speech in general, when even the US embassy refuses to play along? Now, I know the world's changing rapidly. We have a man in charge in America who appears to put the rule of law to one side and do what he feels necessary, ignoring the rule of law. Now, for me, this is not just about going back to Tobago. This isn't just about road work. This is not just about refueling. This is for me, more about the sovereignty of Trinidad, more about the sovereignty of Tobago. And of course, the right of Trinidadians and Tobagonians, and to know what is being done in their name, on their soil, and of course in their waters. And I know I say this a lot, we are sovereign in name only, and so it appears, because America would do what America does anyway. They will bully us into submission, if you wish. But it's down to us whether we submit or we keep on the good fight. So those in public office owe the people of this republic more than contradictory statements, more than drip-fed disclosures, more than after the fact clarifications. Those in power owe the people of Trinidad and Tobago full transparency, because it's you that elected them to serve you. But it appears that it's the other way around right now. So until we get that, we must assume the worst and demand accountability. Because as I say to you here on 10 repeatedly, knowledge is indeed power. Knowledge is power. And silence essentially is consent. I feel sometimes like the leaders in Trinidad and Tobago believe we're still living in 1975, when we are indeed living in 2025, where people have access to social media, people have access to platforms. When I grew up in Trinidad, I was told Christopher Columbus discovered Trinidad, and that was it, really. We should honor the man, and he was a great human being. Little did I know he was one of the worst persons or worst human beings that ever lived. He was a vile, disgusting human being. But up until a few years ago, we had Christopher Columbus Square in Port of Spain in Trinidad and Tobago. You know this, right? But now people are wising up. There is something called social media. And as much as social media gets criticized, it's a great tool of information, used correctly. So we have a government in Trinidad who still lives in 1975, thinks they could pull the wool over people's eyes, or who believe that the people serve them rather than them serving the people. And that could only work because of submission. If we submit to that, then they will have their way every time, irregardless of who's in power. 10, whether that be the UNC or the PNM or the NAR. It doesn't matter who's in power. The power should be with the people, and the power is with you. And you should not submit to these people or allow them to take that power away from you. You should let them know that you can take that power back from them if they fall out of line. And so use social media as a tool to empower you and educate you. And I hope when I created this channel, it's what I created this channel for, Trinidad Empowerment Network. And I'm not here to try and say that I know better than anyone else. I read and educate myself as best as I can, and I try to pass that information on to you as best as I can. That's all I do. And I hope you resonate with my message, as some of you do. I would not be silenced, and no one's going to silence me for trying to educate, or I believe, I'm not trying to be big-headed here, but I believe I'm trying to educate people in Trinidad and Tobago, the country I was born, the country I love. And how dare you try to stop me from doing so? You're not going to silence me. You're not going to silence me. Our ancestors died to speak. They died to have the ability to speak. So when I talk about Trinidad and Tobago, and I talk about the position we're in, and I talk about the economy, and the fact that I see no change, and listen, people tend to, I see people saying now that what were you thinking voting for the UNC? Now, whilst I kind of 50% agree, I also disagree at the same time, because what I see is a very frustrated people. I saw a very frustrated people who felt like the government at the time, the PNM, weren't up to scratch, weren't doing what they were elected to do. Now, when you ended 2024 with the murder rate that we did, 624, I could see why. I could understand why people felt the way they did. People stayed at home. They had no money in their pocket. The crime rate was high. People felt frustrated. And of course, we saw this happen worldwide after COVID. Almost every incumbent government was voted out. Almost every incumbent government was voted out. So when I predicted that the UNC was going to win, and I said that, you go back and you look at my previous video, I said by a landslide, it's because I saw what was happening worldwide. It was a trend. So it came as no surprise to me, and I kind of understand why. I don't agree, of course. I didn't think they were going to push the country forward or make any real significant difference. In fact, I knew it would be bad. I didn't think it would be catastrophic. I did not think it would be catastrophic. So, listen, I don't want to take much more of your time. I hope you've stayed to the end. Please like and subscribe if you do. It really helps. But I will, as usual, keep my ear to the ground and try and bring you the best information as possible. There are things and projects I'm working on that I haven't divulged yet, all in good time. But for me, this isn't just about talking. I want to do practical things that I believe would help the country of my birth and help the people in Trinidad and Tobago. So stay tuned, stay locked in to what's to come. Because this isn't just about videos for me, making YouTube videos. It's about what I say the channel is about. It's about empowerment. Trinidad Empowerment Network, indeed. So I want to come up with more practical things. I will be talking about those things very soon. I hope you bear with me and stay tuned, stay locked in. But like and subscribe because it helps massively. It helps massively. You don't understand. This is how these platforms work. So the more you like, the more you subscribe, the bigger the audience we reach. And then the message can be spread further and wider, if that makes sense. So I appreciate you guys. Stay locked in. I keep my ear to the ground and bring you the best information as I do here on 10. Keep an eye on what's going on in Trinidad and Tobago. Donald Trump is ramping up this Venezuela, this war in Venezuela. He's talking about land attacks now. So stay tuned, and I'm going to try and bring you the best information as I can here on 10. Like, subscribe, and I'll see you guys on my next video. For now, much love. God bless. Take care. Peace.